Despite dropping the past 2 games, the Denver Broncos are still a playoff team, and we're breaking down where the Broncos stand, who's their biggest competitor right now for the playoff spot, and does it look like the Broncos will make the playoffs? We're talking about it all, and it starts now. Take a deep breath, Broncos Country. There we go, Todd. In and out. Everything's going to be just okay. Actually, everything's great.
Okay.
Everything's great in Broncos Country, despite a 2-game losing streak. And we're going to break it down on the DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge inside the DNVR, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores, and presented by Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet. You're going to get $150 in bonus bets, plus Altitude Plus, courtesy of Bet365. Fellas, how are we doing?
Feeling good, man. How are you feeling? I think is the question.
I'm doing better. You know, the trip to Kansas City, I guess it got me. Leaving at 6 a.m. Flight was at 6:30 a.m. on Sunday. Woke up at 3:45. Got home at midnight. I guess my body didn't really like that. Woke up with a sore throat yesterday, but I'm feeling better. Happy to be here with you guys right now. And speaking of Kansas City, before we look at this playoff picture, it is not talked about enough how Kansas City and Arrowhead specifically, gets such a better rep than it should. Arrowhead is in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely.
And I'm not just talking about like it's in Kansas or Missouri, so it's in the middle of nowhere. It is not downtown. It is not by anything cool. When you drive in, you drive by old motels that have clearly switched names about 5 times in the past 3 years. It's by car... not dealerships, but car
lots?
Yeah, where they go to throw old cars away.
Oh, junkyards.
Yeah, junkyards. Yeah. It's by junkyards. And I mean, you can only see downtown when you're at the press level, which is the highest point of the stadium. Otherwise, Arrowhead is in the middle of nowhere. It's awful. It gets this rap as being like, man, it's a hollowed ground. No, F that. Arrowhead sucks.
Well, that's not because of the location. It's not like you're buying a home, you know, like where location is everything.
I don't know.
It's about
I think your stadium location matters.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
but at the same time, like the reputation isn't that like, hey, it's a great little day trip. It's that it's loud and their Chiefs fans are crazy and all that sort of stuff, you know.
And even that though, that wasn't the case. This stadium, not once. Especially when it should have been the loudest. When the Broncos have the ball, they're down 2 points, driving the field with 5 minutes and 57 seconds left. I never once thought to myself, oh, this is loud. And I was in a similar press box, just like the Broncos have, where you're glassed in, so you don't get the full atmosphere, and it's not as good. You don't get the vibes. You feel mile high shaken from the press box when it's loud. Never once felt it shaken, never once thought, man,
Were
this
there
is
people
loud.
on top of you?
Nope. No
There's
people.
the thing.
No, but you still hear it though.
Okay.
That might also be a
Jeez,
structural
this
issue.
guy
I'm
is
just saying,
defending
like-
Arrowhead like I've
I mean,
never
but like
heard.
they literally have the record, like 142 decibels.
Yeah, well, this game they didn't turn out.
Okay.
I'll tell you. I was surprised. I was expecting, despite going into enemy territory, I was expecting this to be a very cool trip in terms of like getting to see this awesome stadium that with great fans and like what it does have is what people say about like, oh, there's just cars for days because everyone's tailgating. That was for sure true, and it smells really good. Everything else, in my opinion, at least on this trip, so overblown.
Who banged the drum at the beginning?
It was military. It was for Veterans Day.
Okay.
So they had someone from the military out there, and they flew these planes. The flyover was like a mix of helicopter and a plane. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
A helicopter?
Sure, yeah, it was a
I've
helicopter.
never seen that before.
Sounds like something a third grader would come up with. Yeah, so anyways, I just had to get that out there because
How was the barbecue? Did you have any barbecue down there?
I did not have any barbecue. No,
Dang.
wasn't able to stop anywhere.
Now,
on the
that's
way
one thing I
back.
do feel like it's kind of overrated in
Oh.
KC. Like, I went to, like, Jack Stack and all, like, the little places.
Yeah.
You eat every time you're down there, but I'm never like, oh, my gosh, like, this is so good. I feel like their barbecue is definitely overrated.
See, I feel like hasn't food with traveling and airplanes and stuff, hasn't great food kind of spread everywhere for the most part?
Yes, in some ways.
I don't know.
No, but
Yeah.
I mean, you got places like New Orleans where, like,
Yeah.
you're not finding that
Well,
wherever
it's also
you
the
go.
ingredients, right? Though, like they have fresh crawfish. You don't get that in most of like the U.S.
But that's what will make it, like, not spreadable.
I'm just thinking about tacos. I'm like, they started in Mexico City. They're all the way up in.
But there are
in
places with
Japan.
better tacos than others. Like, California tacos are different than Denver tacos.
Better.
Better. I mean, we're right there. You just cross the border and you got some tacos. So, yeah, I think food has spread, but I don't know if it's everywhere.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And barbecue, is there any, there's no like fresh, it's not
Fresh
like you have
beef?
to have, fresh cow. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that has kind of spread for the most part.
What's your
Where-
favorite barbecue spot here?
My favorite barbecue
I know, I
spot
put you on the
here.
Yeah.
I don't really have one.
Oh, man.
You know, I don't really.
You ever been to GQ? GQ's really good.
I've heard of GQ. I don't know if I've actually been there.
It's good. It's pretty good.
Is that the best spot?
Yeah. Probably in Denver, yeah, to me.
Is it like Brothers Barbecue?
It's better.
Better?
But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't want to hate on anybody.
Yeah,
but I think
that's
it's
fair.
better.
Brothers is like the fast food version of GQ. GQ's
Yeah.
the
Well,
one
I thought
that
GQ was like a similar sort of style, no? It's a little more sit down?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, and apparently in Kansas City, like the ones you were talking about that are like in gas stations or something?
Yeah, the one that's like the biggest one's like in a gas station, yeah.
That's wild. It's like Buc-ee's, which has now made its way to Colorado.
It has. I still haven't been. I got to go try Buc-ee's out.
Have you been to a Buc-ee's?
No.
That's
I mean,
not,
I just don't.
it's not in Montana?
No. I don't know why I would.
My family in Texas like couldn't believe I had never been to Buc-ee's.
Yep.
Like it's
Huh.
such a big deal out there. Like they couldn't believe I never been.
It's literally
They just
big.
have a lot of them?
I think there's a few of them, and they're just in between like big cities. So like going from Dallas
Huh.
to Texas, you'll run into like Buc-ee's, and everybody stops there.
Yeah.
Do you know what a Buc-ee's is?
Texas has
Yeah,
a bunch
of course I know
Buc-ee's.
what it is.
Oh, I didn't know until it came to Colorado.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But where is
I-
it?
It's just way up north.
Yeah, it's on the way to Fort Collins. It's like
Is
20
it on
minutes
the way?
outside Fort Collins.
I thought it was past.
I'm
yeah.
not going to Fort
Okay.
Collins anytime
Exactly.
soon.
No.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's like 20 minutes before. Exactly. Yep.
Huh.
What's your favorite barbecue spot, Henry?
I don't know. I don't
What's your
eat a lot
favorite
of
barbecue
barbecue.
spot in Montana?
They don't really.
What do you guys eat?
Back room is the one that I always go to. That's a good one, Columbia Falls. But I mean, it's not like you don't get to like go pick which barbecue spot.
There's just one.
Yeah, and it's really good. like, that's just not really how it works.
That's
But
fair.
no, it is really good.
Also, Hank thinks that Montana has great Mexican food, so
It is good.
I can't believe that.
It's not super authentic, but it's good.
That's fair. I think
I
that-
actually had some Mexican food here that I did not like recently. 'Cause the tacos had like American cheese and they
You
was
wanna
like
blast 'em?
melted and no, I don't. But yeah, I was just disappointed. I was like, I just want like a big plate of rice and beans
Want
and
my
then like a
Montana
burrito or
tacos.
taco.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're good. They're good.
Was that the place that was going around in company Slack
No,
over the past few weeks? Okay.
no.
There's a very controversial place right around the DNVR bar where people either love it in the company or they hate it. And I don't know if you hear his mic was on, but if so, you just found out it wasn't on. You just found out which side he was on. Okay, let's dive into Broncos talk. How's Broncos Country doing right now? What's the pulse that you're feeling after these past two games?
I think everybody feels good. Like honestly, especially with the it was a tough loss to KC, but I think you got a young quarterback that really went in there and in a lot of ways outplayed Patrick Mahomes. So it felt good to have Bo Nix play well. Lead the team on the game-winning drive, be able to milk all that time off the clock, which is really hard to do as a young quarterback. Even though we didn't win, I think, everybody's still on the high of Bo Nix playing well.
Yeah. It just would have been nice to get a win like that because that just would go such a long way. Because we all think the Broncos are making the playoffs. We all think the Broncos are a good football team and deserving of it. But they still are kind of missing like a signature win, like something that you look at and say like, oh, you can beat them. You can do whatever.
They beat the Panthers.
And the Saints.
Destroyed those teams, baby.
I'm not sure what the numbers are, but coming into this week, the teams they'd beaten were 13-32. And, there's always other pieces of that. Like after the Broncos beat the Buccaneers, their team fell apart and got hurt and all that. But after the Jets game, we realized that really is a bad Jets team. It just would have been nice to have a win over the Chiefs to say like, okay, this is obviously for real. They're this good. They're off and running.
So I've been in Arrowhead, and I like to hear what both of you guys think. So I haven't maybe had the best pulse, but the pulse that I've got from Broncos Country is a couple of Toyota chats that I'm seeing right now. One of our friends says they're sick still from that loss. Crumble Cookies says still recovering from that. And then Blueberry Wilbur, not sure if this is a Broncos fan at all, but they say to say Denver is a playoff team is crazy. And that's kind of the vibe that I've been feeling from Broncos Country and out there right now is actually, Todd, I feel the same way you feel about this. Like, I am so encouraged from that game. And Henry, there is part to what you're saying. Man, it would have been so nice to get the win. But when I take a step back, like, that was a moral victory. And maybe when you're competing for Super Bowls, there's no such thing as moral victories. Broncos aren't competing for Super Bowls. But for people to think that the Broncos being a playoff team is crazy, I call that absolutely crazy. And so I think we need to kind of reset for Broncos Country where they're at right now. And I think it's a much better spot than people think. Let's look at the standings. And before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota, where Toyota has awesome cars. Another one, I mean, they're just making all their cars look like sports car spaceships in the best way possible. I mentioned how the Corolla is like that. The Prius also like that. Prius isn't getting enough love. It's of course like the first hybrid car, but now they look so good. They look like a little sports car right there. So if you want to get yourself a Prius, a hybrid, a truck, they've got the Tundra I-Force Max hybrid truck, which just it makes it even more powerful. They've got it all over at Toyota, including 17 models with all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner. If you want to get yourself one, visit your local Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL, and the official vehicle of DNVR.
And shout out to our friends over at Empire Today. If you guys are looking for new floors for your home or business, you got to check out our friends over at Empire Today. And Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. And their philosophy is to help you find what you need, not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitute. Empire's product team exhaustively combs through thousands of product samples each year to find the perfect samples. I think it's important. There's a lot of different types of flooring out there and a lot of different styles. So if you have an idea and you know what you want, being able to talk to them and them show you exactly what you're looking for, and even give you a couple options and not overwhelm you with different choices, I think that's super important. And that's what they do. They also have a virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. And right now, you can schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
All right, so Broncos Country, take a deep breath because let's look at the standings right now. Of course, 2 weeks ago, the Broncos were sitting at 5-3, and it was like, of course, they're a playoff team. Well, they've lost 2 games, arguably against the 2 best teams in the NFL, the 2 best teams in the AFC, maybe, or maybe 2 of the most dangerous teams in the NFL is how you could put it. And if you look at the standings right now, Kansas City's the 1 seed, obviously 9-0. Buffalo's the 2 seed at 8-2. Pittsburgh's the 3 seed at 7-2. Houston's the 4 seed at 6-4. Those are all, of course, the division leaders right now. Then you go to the 3 wild card teams. Baltimore is the first wild card team at 7-3. The Chargers are the second wild card team with the 6th seed at 6-3. They're kind of on a run right now. And then your Denver Broncos are a playoff team right now in the final wild card spot. They're the 7th seed at 5-5. And then you go down and you look at the teams that are just out. The 8th seed is the Indianapolis Colts sitting there at 4-6. The Bengals are tied with the Colts, but technically they don't have the tiebreakers. So they're the 9th seed at 4-6. The Dolphins, who got a big win last night, maybe kept their season alive.
Yeah.
I'm curious to
No,
ask
they're
you guys
for real.
if you. Oh, they're for real. Okay, excited to talk about them. They're for real at a 3-6 record right now with the 10th seed. The Jets and the Patriots are tied with the 11th and 12th seed at 3-7. And then I have to imagine these other teams are out of here. The Browns 2-7, Titans 2-7. Raiders, second worst team in the AFC at 2-7, and then the Jacksonville Jaguars sit there at 16th seed in the AFC West at the very bottom at 2-8. When you look at this standings, what jumps out to you?
That Hank said the Dolphins are real. I think 3-6. I mean, too little, too late. I know that they are a solid team and they started off the year pretty well, but because of injuries, 3-6 is a deep hole to try and climb yourself out of.
It helps that they play the Raiders and Patriots up next.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden though, like that should be 5-6, and then
Still a
them
losing
Packers will be
record.
tough. Packers, Jets, Texans, 49ers. They're gonna need to make up some ground, but they're just totally different when Tua's there. And again, like I think when people talk about the playoffs, they think that only good teams make the playoffs, and that's not true. Like there are some pretty average teams who get in. Like you think to last year with like Joe Flacco's Browns made a lot of noise late, made the playoffs. The Steelers with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett going back and forth made the playoffs. Like the bar is not high. Half of the league basically gets in. So I think if the Broncos screw up on Sunday against the Falcons and drop to 5-6, then all of a sudden the Dolphins are back in play.
So right now they're not, though.
I mean, I wouldn't say they're out. I mean, there's just so much season left, you know?
The way I view this, and my big takeaway when looking at the standings is, man, there's a lot of bad teams in the AFC and in not necessarily the NFC. There's actually a lot of teams right around 500 in the NFC, but the AFC, so many bad teams that I think this race, we're sitting here just after week 10, this race for the playoffs, there's like the 7 playoff teams and then 2 other teams that are competing right now. I think it's what Todd said, too little, too late. And I think both things can be true, and I'm going to kind of take a middle path. Like, Henry might be right. With Tua, the Dolphins are a scary team. I mean, they got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, A-Chain. You have so much speed. Yep. We obviously saw what they could do last year. Scary, but 3-6. I think when I look at the standings right now, any team that has 7 losses is done. Is completely done. The Dolphins are at 3-6. I think when you hit that 7th loss, your margin for error is 0 anymore. You have to win out. And you mentioned
even this year?
Yes.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if the 7th seed winds up being like an 8-9 team.
I would be shocked by that.
At 9-8, I feel like you have to feel pretty good at this point.
So in the past, since when it was moved to 7 teams in a 17-game schedule a couple of years ago, only one team in the AFC has made the playoffs at a 9-8 record. You got to be 10-7 to get in. If you're 10-7, you're pretty much guaranteed a spot. Only one 9-8 team has made it. Henry, I can see your argument though. If that's going to happen, it's this year. But 8-9, no way. In my opinion,
Really?
especially with the Broncos sitting at 5-5 right now. And we'll look at some upcoming schedules of the Broncos, the Colts, the Bengals. We can look at the Dolphins as well. But I'm very comfortable eliminating the Jets, eliminating the Patriots, obviously. Those are teams at 3-7. I think they have to win out in order to make the playoffs right now. And you mentioned how the Dolphins could be 5-6, but then you talked about those other games that they have coming up. They're going to lose at least one of those, and then they just have no margin for error. So right now, I would personally eliminate the Dolphins. Henry wouldn't. And Todd, you...
Yeah, I would eliminate the Dolphins. If anybody's going to make a run, I feel like it's going to be the Bengals.
It's going to be the Bengals. So that was my next question. And Henry, you can say the Dolphins for this.
No, absolutely not.
What team concerns you the most?
It has to be the Bengals. Like I don't think there's any
good.
other argument there. Like
Really? I feel like last week when we had this conversation, I don't know if it was on the show or after, you said Colts.
I might have. I don't know. I mean, it just has to be the Bengals. Like they're the only team that has the talent to do anything crazy. Especially if you think you got to get to 9-8. Because I mean, Colts and Bengals, they both go 4-3. That's 8-9. The Colts aren't going to be 5-2 down the stretch. The Bengals could pull it off, and that's why like when those two, if they both go 4-3, winning record the rest of the way, they're 8-9. That's why I think if the Broncos are 8-9, it'll come down to tiebreakers, and they play both those teams. But I don't think it's a guarantee. I think if any of these teams finishes 9-8, there's an 80-90% chance at least that they win.
And that's fair. I don't think that that 8-9 will get in though.
I don't think so, but I think it's in play.
And I think, to piggyback off what you guys said, it's no doubt the Bengals. I'm already comfortable saying this final wild card spot is down to the Broncos and Bengals here, and maybe the Broncos can overtake the Chargers. They do play the Chargers one more game, but I don't think this season really matters if the Broncos have the 6th spot in the playoffs or the 7th spot. It's just about getting into the playoffs here. And would it be better to finish 2nd in the division instead of 3rd? Yes, but there's a little bright spot here. If the Broncos make the playoffs as a 7th seed and the Chargers are a spot ahead of them or 2 spots ahead of them, it means the Broncos get an easier schedule next year. It means instead of having the second hardest schedule in the division, you get the 3rd. And you still make the playoffs, so maybe it's kind of a win-win right there, and you just don't worry about finishing behind the Chargers because you still made the playoffs here. But this is 100% the Bengals right now. The Colts, I don't know what's going on with the Colts right now. They benched Anthony Richardson a couple weeks ago, said that they're going with Joe Flacco for at least the foreseeable future, if not the rest of the season. Then Joe Flacco goes out and on the first 2 possessions throws back-to-back interceptions. And now they're falling apart. Now they want to go back to Anthony Richardson. Their fans do. I mean, they're in an awful position. It really is like if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. That's what's going on there. And unfortunately, it's a complete different conversation with the Bengals. They have an MVP quarterback right now. And not just based off his name, based off his play. If the Bengals didn't have an absolute garbage defense, they ranked 26th out of 32, giving up 26 points per game. Joe Burrow would be right there next to Lamar Jackson as the front runner for MVP. He has a NFL best 24 passing touchdowns, an NFL best 2,672 passing yards, almost an NFL best 68.7 completion percentage, and only 4 interceptions. He almost has an NFL best 108.1 passer rating, and almost an NFL best 74.3 QBR. Anytime you have an MVP quarterback, you've got a shot, and the Bengals just Bengal to start the season. They started 1-4, 1-3,
something like
and
that.
now they're 4-6 right now. So they're making their way back. But the Ravens win over them last week was huge.
Yeah, they usually are like a second half team. You know, barring any injuries from Joe Burrow, they usually do good in the second half of the season. But I think that's why I put them high on the list to make a push. Like they played the Ravens tough, man. That wasn't an easy game for the Ravens. Ravens actually barely got the win. So you look at teams and you see who the Ravens have played, how close the games were. We did lose by 31 points. We weren't really in it. Next week, the Bengals playing really tough. It seems like the Bengals are the real deal if their defense can like show up. So hopefully they don't show up for a few games and they're not competing for us for that 7th spot.
And how crazy was it last week watching Thursday night? Obviously, all Broncos country is rooting for the Baltimore to win. And in the first half, the Ravens did nothing. What was it? 7 points, I think, scored in the first half. And it's like, damn, this Bengals defense is turning it on, which is a really scary thought. And then the second half, they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson at all. I mean, 28 points in the second half.
He's tough, man. He's tough to corral. He can do so many things that can beat you. And now he's like really found his rhythm as a passer. I feel like everybody's been labeling him as, a dual threat, but, he did better in the run game than he did in the pass game. Now it's looking like he can put the ball exactly where he wants to put it at any given moment and really make you pay for it.
Yeah, no, the Ravens are really good for sure. I mean, we've talked a lot about the Ravens. I don't have any new thoughts.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Let's dive in to some future schedules just to see, like, are we right? Or could the Colts go on a run? Or are we worried about the Bengals going on a big run? We've got some schedules to pull up to just see where we think these guys are going to end up at season's end. But before we dive into these schedules, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time. We're going to be talking about a lot about upcoming schedules and games. If you want to go to any of these games, whether it's the Broncos games or other games or concerts, you can check out our friends over at Game Time. Use the code DNVR when you sign up over at Game Time, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. That's code DNVR over at Game Time. And one of the great things about Game Time, they've got such a good user interface. You're seeing it if you're watching on YouTube. You're looking at the interface right now. It's so easy. They also have the all-in button. You click that, and you're going to know exactly how much you're paying with taxes and fees included, so you don't have to worry at the end when you get to checkout and the tickets that you thought were $100 are now actually $192, and you're like, well, now I got to start my search over. Not over at Game Time. They shoot it to you straight. So check them out over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use the code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
Boom.
Also, check out Circle K if you need to stop somewhere to get some snacks. They've got all sorts of different stuff. And they also have a promotion if you sign up. You can join their Inner Circle membership, and there will be a whole bunch of different perks, including deals on different products they have inside the store. But also, you can save 25 cents per gallon on your next 5 fill-ups after you sign up. It's a free membership. It's easy to download. All you got to do is just give them your email and your phone number, and you'll be fully enrolled. And after that, all you need is just to know your phone number when you go to the store. So if you're looking for snacks, that's the spot to go. I know our Buffs guys always stop there whenever they go. They were down in Lubbock this week, drove down there. And there's a reason why Circle K is always their first stop. So you should make it yours too. Download the Circle K app, sign up for the Inner Circle for exclusive offers, new offers, purchase clubs, and sweepstakes that are uploaded weekly.
How much could you spend at a gas station getting snacks?
You spend a good amount. 20, 30 bucks.
20, 30 bucks?
How?
What do you
Well,
mean?
I mean, like, is that like you're just gonna be eating only that for like a weekender?
No, just
On a
like
road
on
trip.
a road trip.
Yeah.
A road trip?
You're going to get some waters. You're going to get some drinks. You're going to get it, like, you know what I'm saying?
I guess you get
Two or
yeah.
three sweets, 2 or 3 salties.
Yep. Couple of
huge.
beverages.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't think I could spend that much.
What would you say you'd spend?
15?
Okay.
15? Get like a bag of chips, a water.
Okay.
Are you
Then-
not paying for your girl, or is this just you?
Yeah.
Oh, there is that.
He's being cheap.
There is that.
He's being cheap.
We've never been on a road trip together, I don't think.
And then you have to stop again if you don't get, like, enough snacks.
Right.
How long is your road trip? Like, where are you going?
Let's say you're going down to Texas. You're going down to Lubbock.
I think maybe my thing is I'm just too anti-road trip to do that.
I mean, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
You guys.
The reason I bring this up is, didn't our Buffs friends, and what is there, 5, 6 of them on the bus, I think, they spent $300 at Circle K just a couple of weeks ago
Oh, wow.
going on one of their road trips. So
That's crazy.
Henry kind of scoffs at Todd saying,
That's
what,
crazy.
$30?
Yeah.
I think they spent $300.
There's no way
or
they ate all
something.
that.
I don't know. Yeah, it's true. So it boils down to, about $30 a person. Maybe $40 a person, yeah. But you can get anything over at Circle K. Todd, when you were at Sacramento State, did you guys travel by...
Come on now. Don't do me.
Wow.
Don't even do me. Like
Wow.
that.
I just
Don't even
wasn't sure
act
where
like we
this
was
line
busting
was.
it. We definitely weren't busting it anywhere.
They have a
Davis.
Mustang.
To Davis.
Yeah, to Davis.
There we
just
go.
because it's...
What, an hour?
A suburb.
No, it's like
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're like, an hour, we would have flown. We got
Yeah,
a
we
private
would've-
jet.
for sure.
We would have got the, what'd you call it? The hell of plane?
The helicopter.
Helicopter, yeah. So you guys flew charter?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Come on now. We're big time.
I'm just trying to expand my. You know, DU didn't have a football team.
We've had
So I
some
gotta
great
find out.
alumni that went to Sac State.
Like you,
You know, Tom Hanks.
really?
I mean, I don't want to say the whole list. You know what I'm saying? We got to talk
No,
about
that's pretty good. Damn, Montana,
Ryan-
we have J.K. Simmons.
Ryan Coogler. You know,
Wow.
Okay, I don't know him.
Who's
you
the
know
best?
him?
No, I don't.
Black Panther director,
Oh,
Sac State grad, and Sac State
Interesting.
football player. Shout out,
Okay.
Ryan.
Wow,
You know what I'm saying?
football
Wow.
player. Too. Who's the? Well, you said he was a football player. Is he the most famous? Who's the most famous athlete that has been known for being an athlete? Is it you?
No, I'm just playing.
Is it you?
At Sac State, I don't know. You
It
gotta-
might be you.
You got to look it up. I don't know.
That's pretty sweet.
Hey, I like it.
I can't think
I
of
think
any.
of Sac State. Yeah, I don't
There's
know
got to
if
be
I-
like,
somebody from back in the day. Tom Hanks might have played back in the day too.
But he's not, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know for being an athlete.
Henry, what about Montana?
like best athlete.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jerry
geez.
Schwarzenheimer for
Not Jerry Frossenheimer. He was fine. Jeez. Like Chris Gowiak was a first round NBA pick. I'm trying to think. Like Trumaine Johnson recently,
Okay.
highest paid corner in the NFL. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Highest paid corner in the NFL. You got to take it.
Even you seem disappointed with that answer.
No, I'm just trying to think because they had a couple good basketball players back in the
Deron
day.
Bland went to Sac
That's
State
true.
too.
Okay.
He was good.
Okay. I'll put you ahead of him.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Trumaine Johnson definitely made the most money.
Yeah,
We're
that's pretty
definitely
good.
sticking with that.
Yeah, money could be a good indicator. Okay, so let's dive in and look at. Yeah, we'll start with the Broncos schedule, the Bengals schedule, the Colts schedule, and we can also do Dolphins too. Let's throw them in there.
Let's do the Colts.
Let's jump in and look at the Colts schedule here. I kind of already gave my spiel on the Colts. Like, I think they're garbage. Not garbage. I think they're just done with their quarterback situation. Do you guys agree, disagree? Do you think Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco can save them?
No, and not when you're like, you know, switching back and forth between quarterbacks and it's not due to injury. It's just bad play or I don't know if guys don't want to be there. It kind of feels kind of weird, but no.
I mean, they're not done. I mean, again, like it doesn't take a great team to make the playoffs anymore.
They're done.
Again, like Mitchell Trubisky, Kenny Pickett did it last year. Like I think again, if they win 5 of those
The
games,
Steelers did it last year,
Yeah.
and the Steelers do it all the time.
Yeah.
This is a
that's
very.
true. But I mean, you got
their
Jonathan Taylor.
organization
You've
is meant
got
to do
you've
it
got
right
the
now.
defense. It's not like a great defense, but it's fine. I mean, I don't think they have the toughest schedule the rest of the way. Like it would surprise me. I think if they get in, that's because they're an 8-9 team. Just looking,
So let's pull
Yeah.
up the Colts schedule. Is that where you're going to jump into their schedule? So they play the Jets this week.
Loss, L.
I mean, I probably, but I would not be surprised if the Colts beat the Jets. The
Okay.
Jets aren't.
So you said they need to go 4-3. Where are the 4 games they're winning? Because they're going to lose to the Jets, lose to the Broncos.
You're going to lose to
Lose
the
to the
Lions. So this
Lions.
goes left to right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Boom, 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 boom.
So definitely losing to the Lions in 2 weeks.
Yes. And
Let's
Then-
go Patriots, Giants, Titans, Jags.
that could happen.
And again, like you're probably not just going to win the 4 easiest. You're not winning the Lions, but again, like if they beat the Jets instead of one of those, it wouldn't be the craziest. If they beat the Broncos instead, like it'd be disappointing, but it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, that Colts game is going to be big for the Broncos. And I think when we look at these schedules, not just for the Broncos, but other teams, the Broncos are going to be able to pretty much control, I mean, just straight up control their own destiny. But specifically against these teams that they're going against, that Broncos game is going to be big. If they drop that game, that's how the Colts get, in my opinion, to 9 wins. And then they'll have the tiebreaker over the Broncos, which would just be brutal. But Henry, those games you mentioned, the Patriots are a bad team, although feisty. The Titans are a bad team. The Giants are a bad team. The Jags are a bad team. That's 4 wins. If you think 8 and 9 could get into the playoffs, there's your 8 wins. I personally do not think that will get you into the playoffs. So they have to beat the Jets, the Lions, or the Broncos. I don't think they're winning any of those games. But then even if they do, if one of those games isn't against the Broncos are going to be at least 9 and 8, and then the Colts won't have the tiebreaker. So then the Colts will have to win 2 of those other 3 games to get to 10 and 7. I don't see them coming close to that.
Me either.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt it.
Okay. Okay, and so that's why we all agreed that the Bengals is probably the toughest competition for the Broncos here. Let's look at their remaining schedule here. And before we look to the future, I just want to look at how the Bengals started again this season. They're 4-6 right now. They started 1-4 this season, and their very last loss of that 1-4 stretch was losing to the Ravens in overtime. So, man, Broncos might have to give a shout out to the Ravens for taking care of business 2 games against the Bengals and having them go 0-2. Since then, since that 1-4 start, the Bengals have gone 3-2, so not necessarily running the table or unstoppable by any means, but they've started to pick up steam, and now they're 1 game back of the Broncos for that final wild card spot right now. And their schedule this week, guys, is it crazy to say they play the Chargers this week? Is it crazy to say Broncos are pulling for the Chargers in this game?
Yeah, you probably are.
So it's not crazy to say?
No, not crazy at all.
Wow. So does this mean we're accepting that the Chargers are a playoff team?
7-3, or that's scary. 'Cause
Yeah.
that means that's another team in your division that you're gonna have to battle with for years to come. Like,
Yeah.
nobody wants that. But
No.
they look pretty good right now.
So do you pull for the Chargers to lose for like their long-term outlook, but it hurts the Broncos in the short term? Or do you pull for the Chargers to, really kind of take a playoff spot and run with it?
No, you want them to lose, and then you just beat both of them. I think that's the way it doesn't like actually sting or hurt.
That's fair. That's an ideal world.
Because otherwise, I mean, these Chargers might be, 12-4. I mean, 12-5. Nobody wants that leading into next year. Like, no matter how good we are, you don't want another team. Chiefs are already undefeated right now, and you're talking about the Chargers going to be a double-digit win team. Like, we got to knock them down a couple pegs.
I see what you're saying, Todd, but I got to go with Henry here. I'm focused on the Broncos making the playoffs this year, and maybe Broncos Country won't out loud be saying "Go Chargers," but the Chargers. I mean, we talked about it. Like, it seems like those first 6 playoff spots are kind of. I mean, it's crazy to say after just week 10 are locked down, but I think all of those teams, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Steelers, the Texans, the Ravens, and I do think the Chargers at 6-3, I think they're all locks to make it with how weak it is behind the Broncos. I mean, the teams out of the playoffs are 4-6, 4-6, 3-6, 3-7. So I think if you're 6-3 right now, barring a massive collapse, which if anyone can do it, it's the Chargers. I think they're making the playoffs. So now I think you just cheer for the teams who are directly competing with the Broncos right behind them to lose. And that's the Bengals.
I don't want to lock the Chargers into anything.
I get it.
It's pretty
You're
early.
saying that we're like bowing down. They're better than us.
No, they're
they're
locked. Yeah, they're locked to make it.
That means they're better than us. Say it. Say the Chargers are better than us then.
No, because I'm not
Then
saying
how are you locking them in?
they're a lock to make the playoffs. The
Are we a
Broncos,
lock?
not yet. I'm very
That's what I'm
confident.
saying.
No, because they're 6-3. Broncos are 5-5 right now. The Broncos might still finish ahead of the Chargers in the division and in the playoffs, but I think the Chargers are making it.
So they get to 7-3, and then we're still gonna catch them.
Not necessarily. Could, because Broncos win this week. They're still only a game back of the Chargers, and then they play the Chargers later this week.
All right, come
later
on.
this year. So I'm not bowing away from competition here, Todd.
All right.
And you know what? If 3 teams from the AFC West make the playoffs, that's just even more impressive that the Broncos made the playoffs because they had to play the Chiefs twice. They had to play the Chargers twice. See how I'm spinning this?
I like it.
Into a good thing.
I like it.
Don't shy away from
Just
competition
keep spinning.
here.
Keep spinning.
So I think Broncos are pulling for the Chargers this week to beat the Bengals. Bengals dropped to 4-7. I mean, I said it earlier. Once you get to 7, you have 0 margin for error.
Yeah.
And with 6 games left, you have 0 margin for error for a team that has the 6th worst defense in the NFL, like the Bengals do. Sorry, you're done. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
It's a weird year though. Again, DraftKings of the Broncos, Bengals, Dolphins, Colts. Dolphins and Colts over under wins set at 7.5. Broncos, Bengals both at 8.5 with plus money on the over. Like, this isn't like any other year. Like, the difference between this top AFC teams and the bottom is just so big.
To be fair, though, betting odds in Vegas and these companies have been so against the Broncos all year. They had them at 5.5 wins to start the season, and they've always continued to just be lower on them. So I'm not surprised that they have them at 8.5. The Broncos are going to have a winning record this year.
I think so too. But yeah, like, I think you're trying to get to 9, because if you get to 9, you're probably making the playoffs if you're any of these teams.
What's the Chargers' odds to make the playoffs?
NFL says 81%.
81%. Come on, guys. Lock.
That 81% does not mean lock. 81%. You ever watch free throws at the end of the game?
What do they have the Broncos
81%
at?
shooter there at the end. Like, that doesn't feel like 81%.
What do they have the Broncos at?
52%.
52%. There you go. More than not to make the playoffs. So let's continue. Let's go down the line and look at the Bengals' rest of their schedule right now. So Chargers this week. Then the Bengals have a bye, so can't lose that week. Then the Steelers in week 13. Man, that's going to be a great game. That could very well go the exact same way this past week's game went against the Ravens, though. Like, Joe Burrow can't do any more. Jamar Chase can't do any more, and their defense still gives it up at the end of the game. Wouldn't be surprised by that. What do you guys think about that game?
I think the Bengals will win that game. That's why I'm nervous. I think that there's a big difference between the Steelers and their fashion of winning games and the Ravens. Like, if the Bengals get up on the Steelers, there's no Lamar Jackson to, manufacture a win. Like, Russ is not bringing you back and scoring, 21 unanswered points and just putting on a show. Like, he's playing well right now, but I think it's like team victories. So, Bengals are a real team, man. I think this is the only team we need to be looking out for, because they showed it on, Thursday? They can play.
Yep. Okay, so then their next game after that, they play the Cowboys. Cowboys just put Dak on season-ending IR this morning, I believe, so that's got to be a win, right?
Oh, for sure. He be finding a way to get out of them seasons, man. When he not doing well, Dak will find a way to get out that season. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to sit this one out.
Look. Then the Titans.
A win.
Then the Browns.
That's a win.
Then the Denver Broncos. Expect that game to be a primetime sort of game. Expect that to be a nationally televised game. What I mean by that is right now that's TBD on which day it's going to be. This is going to be a Saturday game for the Broncos. It's not officially announced yet, but this one's going to be Saturday. It's the only game on TV. There's no college games that day either. Might even be the 11 a.m. kick that Saturday. This game is going to be everything, I think, especially going through their schedule. The Chargers is a tough game, but then and the Steelers is a tough game, but both those games winnable. And then they have 3 easy games there. You just hope that the Steelers don't have their division locked up by that point. So you also want the Ravens to continue to do well so that the Steelers are playing for something in Week 18. Or else I think everything is going to come down to that Week 17 game, because I agree with what you guys have said. I'm worried about the Bengals going on a run. And I think that game right there is not only going to be for a better record, but also the tiebreaker. And I think after Week 17, we'll know if it's either the Broncos or the Bengals locked into a playoff spot.
Yeah. And again, though, they need to go 5-2 to get to 9 wins. Like, I know that the opponents aren't the scariest, but that's a big ask for anybody. So we'll see if it gets to that point.
Yeah, and again, I think one of their wins would probably have to be against the Broncos, and that's why I think that game is going to be so huge. So this week, man, just going through that, you're cheering for the Chargers to give them one of their losses, I personally think. Henry, you want to go through the Dolphins' schedule as well? Just because you think they might have a little bit of a chance there. Let's look at the Dolphins' schedule. But before we do that, I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Bet365, where use that code DNVR365 over at Bet365, and they're going to hook you up. Place a deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets plus altitude plus courtesy of Bet365. And there's so many fun bets to look at. Of course, you can bet on Nuggets. I mean, Jokic is now like in the minus territory for a triple-double on a game, which is just insane. You can bet on him for MVP. You might want to do that now before the odds just continue to tank. Or you can bet on the Avs to win a game. You can bet on the Broncos this week. Broncos open against the Falcons as plus 2.5. Now they're minus 1.5. You want to get in on that before the line moves even more. Bet365 has got you covered, so make sure to check them out for anything you want, including you can bet on the Broncos to make the playoffs over at Bet365 because they've got all the bets. They're all about the unordinary. We're over at Bet365. It's never ordinary. Check them out. Use that code DNVR365. Must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Also, check out Constant Contact for all of your digital marketing needs. Constant Contact is great for small businesses. They make it easy for you to stay in touch with your audience, whatever that audience might be. You have year-end goals, and Constant Contact has what it takes to help you meet them faster. No matter how experienced you are with digital marketing, Constant Contact has the tools to make your marketing run smoother. You can sell more, raise more, build more genuine relationships with your audience with their suite of digital marketing tools. You have tap email marketing. You can have you can add smartphone texting to your marketing strategy. Connect with over 2 billion people on social media with an all-in-one tool for posting and sharing. It's really convenient stuff, and you can join the thousands of businesses who want automation, integration, reporting tools, and there are millions of people who trust Constant Contact with their marketing success. So, time to put the go in your 2024 business goals with email, social, SMS, and customized marketing campaigns built for you in just a few clicks. Ready, set, go to constantcontact.com/allcity and start your free trial today. Go to constantcontact.com/allcity for your free trial.
Let's ready, set, go and look at the Miami Dolphins schedule right now. Henry, you said they've got the Raiders and then the Patriots. Should probably be 2 wins for them. Then they get up to 1 game within 500, but then they've got to play the Packers in Green Bay, the Jets at home, and the Texans on the road, and then the 49ers at home. There's no way they survive that, in my opinion. Again, with 7 losses already on the season.
Yeah, that's a long stretch.
Or no, 6.
Yeah. Again, though, I mean, what do they need? They need 6 wins probably out of the 7 games.
You've got 8 games left.
So 7 out of the 8. No. 6 of the 8. Mm-hmm. So you go through and like the Texans, 49ers, Packers are your 3 toughest. So you've got to steal one of those and you've got to handle your business. Like the odds are very much against it.
And 2 against the Jets.
The Jets, I don't know. The Jets just don't scare me at this point. I mean, you got to go out there and play the game, and maybe they blow those. But to me, you start with the Raiders and the Patriots. All of a sudden, you're back within shouting distance. At the very least, you might actually be tied with the other teams before you have to play the Packers and the Jets and the Texans. But yeah, I don't think any of those are unwinnable for the Dolphins because that offense just looks incredible with Tua back. So, well. They're still alive.
Man, I don't think so. I think that stretch is too hard for them to have to be, 75% win rate going forward just to get to 9-8, not even 10 wins. I don't think so, but
they're plus 350 to make it.
Yeah, I would put that way higher. I would not put my money on them. Do you like those odds?
Probably not, mostly because I've made too many bets on the Broncos to make it to be betting against myself. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, but what does that say? 20% there? I think 10% from NFL Network. But yeah, you win these next 2 and all of a sudden you're right there.
Man, I honestly wasn't even that impressed with the Dolphins yesterday, but
really,
they got the win.
I mean, they didn't look super sharp, but they just have so many explosive plays and so much speed.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I thought the Rams were going to win that one pretty easily, but then I was surprised.
That's fair. Let's look at the Broncos, because if the Broncos win out, they don't have to worry about what anyone else does. They control their own destiny here with sitting at 5-5 and owning that final wild card spot. They're not tied with anyone. Broncos have the Falcons, the Raiders on the road, and then they close out before the bye week against the Browns. Currently, that game is on Monday Night Football. It might be flexed, though. We'll see if the NFL decides to put another game there, and this game is moved to a Monday. Then the Broncos have a bye week. Then it's the Colts, the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Chiefs. When you look at this final 6-7 game stretch for the Broncos, Todd, what do you think?
Week 16, 17, and 18, depending on how it shakes out, it's gonna be tough. The Chargers are no slouches. The Bengals are still in it. It's gonna be a tough, hard-fought game. The Chiefs are so far ahead that they're not playing their starters. Then we'll get that win, but that's a good little stretch to end your season.
So you just mentioned that final game.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs are that far ahead, I think at this point the Broncos aren't winning the AFC. I think at this point, you want that game to be meaningless for the Chiefs. Now, you don't want to go undefeated, but have the 1 seed locked up because and take the easy win. Don't make it hard for you where you have to play Patrick Mahomes and beat Mahomes. No, play Carson Wentz and beat the Chiefs that way. That's what I think. And when I say that, some people get mad at me for saying that because it's the easy way out. And, oh, you're scared of the Chiefs. No, it's just the easiest path to the playoffs. And that's it. What you should want is just the easiest path. Do you guys disagree?
No, I agree. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
You can't choose who they suit up to play. So if they want to play Carson Wentz, okay, we'll beat Carson Wentz. Not that we're scared of Patrick Mahomes because we went toe-to-toe with him and should have beat him in his house. So it's easier to beat Carson Wentz, though.
Yep. Well, speaking of, 100%. You guys know how many touchdowns the Chiefs have in their past 3 games against the Broncos? So going back to the start of last season when Vance Joseph got here?
I do not.
They scored 9 in one game last year. They scored 16 yesterday. So that was 2. 9 was 3 field goals, right?
Yep.
So that's 2. And then the other game,
16 was probably a touchdown, 3
maybe
field goals.
4
4 touchdowns
in 3 games.
in 3 games.
I'd say 3.
Cut it in half.
2.
2.
Oh, dang.
Talk about owning Patrick Mahomes. That is as good as you can do. And I talked about it when I joined you guys on the postgame show. That was the fewest points the Chiefs have scored this year, 16. And it was at home for them, too.
Yep.
So Vance Joseph in that defense did an incredible job. Broncos offense, well, there's so many things. We don't need to look back. We've talked about it enough. But, yeah, I'd rather play Carson Wentz. So when I look at the Broncos' remaining schedule, they simply have to take care of the teams that they will be favored against.
Yep.
And I don't even mean that against the Falcons. We'll dive into the Falcons tomorrow. They are favored, but I don't mean it with that team. I mean, they're going to be heavy favored against the Browns. They're going to be heavy favored against the Raiders, even in Las Vegas. They've got to win those games. And then when you play the Colts at home after the bye week, you're going to be favored again. You've got to win those 3 games. That puts you at 8 wins. And then to get you to 9, you need 1 win against either the Falcons, the Chargers, the Bengals, or the Chiefs. 1 win right there. 2 wins pretty much guarantees you 10, or will get you 10 wins and pretty much guarantees you a playoff spot. So you can go 500 against the Chiefs, who might be playing their backups, the Bengals on the road, the Chargers on the road, and the Falcons at home. Heck yeah, I think so. As long as you take care of the very easy remaining games. So that's the key for me.
I don't think there are any easy games. Even the Browns, we just saw them beat the Ravens, you know?
That was...
Like, you look at ESPN, and they have the Browns favored in that one. I get that it's like a divisional game and all that, but I think every one of these games is very winnable, but I don't think there's a single easy game left. You don't get the Panthers or the Saints anymore. You got to show up and play well.
The Browns,
even the Raiders, like a 2-win team, like you haven't beat them in Vegas ever. You've never beaten them in Vegas. So I like their chances. Like I said, like I think they're making the playoffs, but I don't see any gimmies here.
I definitely think that the Browns are 1-6 in their past 7 games. They beat the Ravens when they had the Jameis bump. That was just like the interim head coach bump. That was Jameis's first start. Yep. He gave him that bump, and he was terrible against the Chargers in this past game that they played. Only put up 10 points. Now we know the Chargers defense is good, but Jameis Winston went out there and threw 3 picks in that game. Had a passer rating of 50.5. The Browns are 2-7. The Browns are bad. The Raiders are 2-7. The Raiders are dysfunctional too.
You
They
never
also
beat them in
fired their
Vegas, though.
Yeah, but this is a
but this
different
is the time.
team,
This is
though.
when you
Okay.
do it, yeah.
They beat them this year in Denver earlier. They got that hump off of them. I think the Ravens, or I think the Raiders, the Browns are gimmies this season.
I definitely don't. Again, like ESPN does have the Broncos favored against the Raiders, but that's even 51.6 to 48. Like they're
not right. I mean, just because they say that somebody's favored or not
That's
doesn't
fair.
mean they're right.
no, that's fair.
And
but
when
I
you
just
look at the Broncos, I mean, we've beat the teams that we should have beat this year. I think we've done a good job of that.
for the most part, yeah,
And we did it convincingly.
yeah.
So I don't see the Browns or the Raiders finding a way to beat us. I don't.
I would bet against it, but again, like it's
You
just,
will bet against it. We know you.
No, I have never bet against the Broncos. I don't think that might not be true. I don't think, but no, it's just I see some pretty challenging games because even that Browns defense, that Raiders just have your number. Then the rest of them are obvious. Like they all have some clear strengths that you got to deal with. Like I think that you can get to, what was it? You need to be 4-3 down the stretch probably to make it. I think they'll do it, but that's part of what makes this week such a big one.
Yep. Well, and we'll talk about this week, talk about Justin Simmons' return, talk about the Atlanta Falcons, talk about if this is a must-win later in the week. But before we get out of here, guys, one more thing from Arrowhead this week. Got a little video that I want to show you, and I'm going to play a guessing game. What the hell do you think this video is? You hear earlier today was like, what the hell is this? This is so interesting. He had a couple guesses. I want to know if you guys can guess what this video is. You hear? Roll it.
Put your phone up, please. Put it in your pocket.
No, we're good. We can talk. What's that video?
Was that the people trying to get the video up Taylor Swift's dress?
Oh my gosh.
What?
Did
are
you see
talking
that?
About? No.
No, she had to like stop walking because everybody's like down low taking videos. And so the security guy's like, nope, you guys got to stand up because we're not doing that. I mean, so it looked just like that.
No way. That
I
was.
didn't hear that. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
Just it was on Twitter. It was a big thing.
no, that was not that. It was Taylor Swift though. That was so Nick and I are walking off the field. Nick and I are walking off the field, and it was we were like the only ones left, and we're walking in in a hallway just to go back to the press box and go back, and we passed two security guys, and they're like, "You guys can't be here." We're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, we're going to the press box right now, and they're freaking out. Like, you guys go stand in that corner right there. And so we go stand in a corner. Another security officer comes over and he's like, "You guys can't be here right now." And we're like, they just told us that we had to be here and only here. And so we're just standing here. And then I start hearing them talking. They're like, she's coming. And I'm like, oh my God, this is Taylor Swift about to walk by right now. And Nick, he's our social media guy. He has no idea what's going on. He's just in la land. Like, I don't know why we're here right now. And I'm like, Nick, Taylor Swift's about to walk by. So we both get our phones out. And then that security guy comes over and says, "Put your phones away." Says it's both of us. We put our phones away. And Taylor and Travis walk by right after.
It's probably because you guys are down so low.
No.
Really? Because that's what they're doing before the game.
No, I'm sure there's no recording in those
No.
hallways.
Oh, they
Yeah.
do say you can't record there.
Why did you guys you guys just had it out like this? Why didn't you just tuck it away like?
Well, so
discreetly?
I put it right here. It was just at my hip, and you could
They
see him.
caught you.
Yep.
Dang.
So no,
Little-
there were no weird intentions.
Little,
like
creep-
you
it's not
said.
little creepers,
My
little
It's not
creepers.
intentions. That was like a big thing because when all the football players walk in, everybody's like down low, make him like look bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
But then like Taylor was coming and they like stopped her and made everybody stand up. So again, like you just can't take the low angle.
It
Not
was.
that they probably won't let you anyway. But
It was. So I was like foot away from Taylor Swift.
Most powerful person in the
the most powerful person.
Yeah.
What did
in-
anything happen when she walked by? Was there like fireworks or?
Yeah, she looked at me, winked. I was like, wow, is there something here, man? Travis, you
Yeah,
better watch
right.
out.
My
Zach called his
sister-
wife. He's like, I'm not coming home tonight. Sorry.
My sister started listening to her, like, I don't know, I would have been like 9 or whatever. I've just hated her ever since.
Wow.
I hate her.
Wow.
If I saw her, I'd give her like a,
Middle finger.
yeah, it'd be that.
Oh, yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
that.
you would have, I'm sure.
I just can't stand it.
What did she do to you? She just.
I just had to hear it.
Uh,
I just had to hear it, and I was like, this is the worst sound.
dang, that's sad.
What's not sad, we got Justin Simmons' return this week. We're going to break it down starting tomorrow at 10. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm happy to be back with you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.